Hi book lovers, it's Jenny at Julia Baby Jen, and today I'm going to be talking about Gates of Thread and Stone by Lori M. Lee. Okay, so I finally read this book off my bookshelf. I've had it for probably close to a year now. I won it in a giveaway, and it is a signed copy from Lori. Right there, and she did send a signed bookmark with it as well, so that's really cool. So I really didn't know too much about this, although I had already had it on my to read before I won it because of the cover. I just thought that cover was stunning, and I still think it just grabs me. It's a stunning cover. So I finally got around to reading it, and I loved this book. So I'm gonna try not to gush too much during this review, but yeah, I absolutely love this book. So this is the first in I think it's going to be a trilogy. The third book is not out yet, but the second one is The Infinite, which I've already downloaded to my Kindle, and I'm going to probably start reading today. It's totally thrown my reading plan out of whack for the month because I really want to read the sequel like right now. But that's okay. That's what book lovers love, is when you read a book that you adore. So I gave this 4.5 stars, and like I said, I really enjoyed this read. This is a fantasy novel, YA fantasy. It takes place in a fantasy world called Ninurta, and there is the map, and most of the story takes place within the actual walled city of Ninurta, which is divided up. They have the White Court is where the ruler, the king, rules. El Nino is the leader of their city, I guess, and he's the only one in the world that's left with magic, and that is why he is. Every descendant of his of that family line it's the last family line with magic, so every new descendant will rise up and be the new ruler. So it's ruled like that. The gates are there, or the gates in the walled city is for their protection from the Outlands, which they show here, which gargoyles rule and roam free and kill people. So this is actually kind of interesting because it feels like very old world fantasy, but it's actually a futuristic world from what I gather. A lot of that isn't explained because I don't think the characters really know that much. They're really kept in the dark about their own world. But it sounds like it's a futuristic society where and it might not be in our world, it might still be in this fantasy world, but it sounds like it's more futuristic. And basically all the nations developed all this technology, they went to war with each other, and they basically destroyed most of the world. And so it's all like you get out to like where the void is out here, and it's all like singed land from, like, you know, you would assume radioactive weapons and things like that. Nuclear weapons, things like that. This is what it sounds like. So there's a lot of technology in this world too, but it's only granted to the rich. So we're pretty much just to call Ninu, who has this technology. Got a gnat flying around here. So that's kind of the world building. Then there's different districts. She lives in like the poorest district, which is called the Labyrinth. And it's basically old train cars that have been all jumbled together to make a city. It has walls and quarters, and no one can really find their way through it except people who live there. She is, I believe, 17 when this takes place. Her name is Kai. When she was 8, she was found by her brother Reeve. I say brother because he's not really her brother, but this boy Reeve, who was 16 at the time, and she was sick, so he took her in, healed her, took care of her, and then when she got well, he couldn't just throw her back on the street, so he actually kind of kept her, and they call each other brother and sister, and they've lived together ever since. Their relationship was one of the things I loved best about this book, between Kai and Reeve. I really liked their relationship. She also has a magic ability of herself that she hides. Reeve knows about it, but she hides it, and she can control the threads of time and slow down time to help her gain an advantage. She doesn't have a very good control over the ability, and she doesn't use it very often, but she does use it quite a bit in the first part of the book, so she's not supposed to be using it at all. Reeve, the first time she did it, Reeve told her to never do that again, but she still uses it when it suits her. Her best friend is Avon, who is a little bit higher up as far as class goes. He helps his parents run their store, so she actually met him because through the store he started actually giving her free food quietly on the side, and that is how they became friends. And it's kind of a tenuous friendship. She doesn't let anybody get real close to her, but she actually does have a bit of a crush on him. Their relationship was really fun too, because what I loved about this book is there is no love triangles at all, and I feel like the romance was nice and slow burning. I mean, they've already known each other for years, and they're just starting to develop these feelings, and it's very slow to move along, and I actually really liked that. It had that crush factor to it, which was really fun too. So basically, I've told you kind of the premise of the world and everything. What happens to move this plot forward is Reeve disappears, and people have been disappearing in their city, like here and there, but no one can find them, and people just don't talk about it. They don't know where they're going to. There's rumors that some kind of a dark knight, I think is what they call him, or dark rider, comes to the city and is trying to raise a revolution against Khal Ninyu, and he's kidnapping people. That's the theory. But a lot of people aren't believing that. They think it's just propaganda done by Khal Ninyu to try to blame someone else for the kidnappings. So Reeve disappears, and she sets out to find him, and Avon joins her, and they end up finding out that he's been kidnapped by this dark rider, and that they need to go out to the void to find him. So they leave the city to go, and this adventure goes from there, and it is pretty action-packed. There's a lot that happens. There's a lot, if there's not relationship things going on, there's tons of action. Kai is very gritty and resilient and resourceful and all that. She is not like a typical kick butt girl. She is able to fight a little bit. She's basically she's just used to having to survive on the streets, so she has that factor to her. Avon's a little bit softer, but he seems pretty willing to do whatever for her. And she actually tries to convince him not to go with her, because once they leave the city, they can't go back in. Their IDs they'll be wanted criminals, because you're not supposed to leave the city. Alright, so that's it for the spoiler-free section. Now onto the spoilers, so do not watch anymore if you haven't read it and don't want to be spoiled. Where I think the book really takes off is when they hit the void and meet Ira in that palace, and we start to learn that there's actually a mythology system, and these are immortals that they're dealing with, and that is why they have magic. And then she starts to realize that Avon has magical powers, but won't talk about them with her. I did not see that twist coming at the end with him. I did not have any clue that he'd been given those powers as a protector for her, and he couldn't tell her, or he would basically die. And that just about killed me. That part in the book just killed me. First of all, when they were captured and they were beating on him where she could hear it, that just killed me too. And then yeah, it was just so hard to watch or to read that part of the book. But oh my gosh, I was so invested in the characters by then. I was like, and then when he died, I just was like, no! I broke my heart. I was so sad. I was like, why did he have to die? And then I'm like, well, maybe he didn't. You know, I'm like trying to give myself hope. And I was granted a little reprieve. He didn't die, but yet he did. His physical body's still there, but he's not the same person. So that makes things interesting setup for the Infinite. I'm interested to see where that goes. I was really kind of a little disappointed and sad by that ending, but then on the other hand, I like that it added a lot more realism to the story. It made a great twist, a great shock and reveal. This is such a dark, gritty novel, and I love that. I love the fantasy elements in this so much. I love the whole walled city concept. I've read a lot of books about walled cities and fantasy, and there's just something about that that really intrigues me, because I don't believe in walls for people in any form, whether it's protection or otherwise. A lot of times they do go up for protection reasons, and then they turn into something different. And I just don't, I think walls for people is always a mistake. But it's interesting to read books about different scenarios and how it could work, and then every single time it's never good. Every single book I've ever read about walled cities are never good, even if it's for their protection. So yeah, that's an interesting factor to the book as well. So basically, I really did enjoy this. I think I took it down. It was probably a 5-star read for me until the very end when Avon died, and then he was brought back and I got that little reprieve. And I'm not, it's not just because of that, but it just kind of, I just got so disappointed at the end, and maybe that's how you're supposed to feel. I mean, the emotions and the feels were there, but I just knocked it down a little 1/2 star for that little fact, although it was a great twist. And then the other reason I knocked it down 1/2 star was the mythology was a bit confusing to me. I was having trouble following some of it. I totally got Ira, I got that whole fact, and then I got Nina pretty well. But then when we started introducing the other two, what was it, Kala and, oh, her father. Wasn't it her father? That whole, Kronos. That was a little bit hard for me to swallow, the whole thing with her and Kronos. I understood the whole thing with Avon and the deal he made, and that made sense to me, but it was really hard to swallow that she was Kronos' daughter, and he just planned all this for her. That was a little bit harder for me to swallow. It's a little bit of a, not quite a plot hole, but just something that just didn't quite work for me. So that was kind of the main reason I knocked it down 1/2 star. But it wasn't big enough of a factor for me not to enjoy the book. I still loved it. I still love mythology. I love the whole concept. I love the world building was fantastic in this. I really love that, and the characters were great too. So yeah, this is a really fun read, and I'm excited for the sequel. Leave me comments below on your thoughts on this book, because I'm hoping if you watched it till the end that you did read this book. And I hope everyone has a good day. I will talk to you later. Bye.